Hello guys, how
Hi,
are you?
everyone. Today we're going to focus on the two essays that we were assigned for the week. I am going to focus on Everyday Ethics on the Border by Beau Pelagia.
I'm going to focus on Usability Testing for Oppression by Joseph Babalotta.
So just jumping right in his essay, Everyday Ethics on the Border, Beau Pelagia explores how activity theory and actor network theory can be used by TPC practitioners to deploy normative ethics in the workplace. In other words, how they can figure out what the right thing to do is in a situation where it might be unclear. Now, he assumes in this essay that the reader has a working understanding of both theories, which I personally did not. So I thought it would be helpful to just briefly explore them and how they can be used to diagram and map out ethical situations in the workplace. So the first one we're going to look at is activity theory. And activity theory, it does focus on the relationship between technological and social aspects in any activity, and it requires 6 specific pieces of information that you can fill in. And using the example in the essay of the unanswered text by Raul, I filled in this information here. So you can see for tools we have WhatsApp Messenger and English and Spanish language. We have the objective, the division of labor, and all the necessary information. And what this does in mapping it out, it helps us to see possible contradictions in the work environment that may not have otherwise been obvious. And this is important, particularly in this instance, because Raul's silence could be interpreted in many different ways by everyone involved. And Pelagia does discuss how silence is meaningful, and it can be used both as a tool of oppression and as a tool of resistance. But because it is always meaningful, people are going to give interpretations to Raul's behavior. So we can see here that it would be more ethical to really explore the different variables at work, and we come up with 2 contradictions. One is that the rules and norms regarding how long it should take to respond to a text have not really been articulated in this work environment. So Raul may not know that he's taking too long to respond to a text. And 2, up here, we can see that Raul has competing objectives in his workday that may be causing him to take too long to respond to a work text. So moving on then to actor network theory, it's slightly different. In this, we're going to map out every single human and non-human actant that we can think of that is participating in the network that we're dealing with. Keeping in mind that each actant is also a network in and of itself. So, for example, U.S.-Mexican Customs is a network of many different complicated things, and you can continue to break down networks to a molecular level. So it's a good way to get a handle on the complexity of any situation. Actor network theory does view all actors in the situation as equal, and that way it kind of helps you identify weak and strong relationships and to see how technology may be affecting a social situation in ways that you were not aware of. So I've color-coded everything here. Red is the non-human actants, yellow is government and corporate actants, and blue are the human actants. So you can see just visually looking at it that there are so many things that come into play with just this one unanswered text that you may not have considered. And it could hopefully prevent you from making negative assumptions about Raul. For example, you can see just looking at this alone that Raul is connected to so many different variables in his workday that are going to influence how he responds to the text. So just through making these 2 diagrams, it was really an interesting way to see a practical application for both of these social science theories in the workplace and in everyday life that might help us navigate through ethical situations. I actually am really looking forward to using it myself at work.
Yes, and now we jump on to the next article by Babalotta, and it's entitled, like I said, Usability Testing for Oppression, more on social justice case studies. So the summary here is like Babalotta's argument is centered around ethical considerations and challenges of conducting usability study on next steps for families document. It's a flyer which you will see in the next step. And this document is designed for undocumented immigrants who have been detained and separated from their families by the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. And Babalota's argument highlights the ethical complexities and dilemmas associated with conducting usability testing on a document intended for these individuals. And he argues that researchers should consider the larger context and the potential harm caused by their work. And this is the document that he is looking at. I will just lift this up so that it shows. So it's called the Next Steps for Families, and it is written in 2 languages. We have English and then we have Spanish. And then firstly, before we can go into this document, usability is normally done to uncover problems. It is also done to discover opportunities and then to also learn about users. And then in this particular instance, the users of this document are immigrants from Latin American countries who are just coming at the US-Mexico border. And then as soon as they arrive, they are given this document that are written in 2 languages. They may not even know a single word of English. Even though they speak Spanish, they may not also be literate to read what is written in Spanish. They are from different countries that read different Spanish varieties. So having this document does not guarantee understanding by these families. And he condemns and he says that this document is not well designed. So that is why he's calling upon technical communicators to design documents that are user-friendly. And he is structuring his argument around the Belmont report, which looks at 3 principles of research. The first one is respect for persons. The respect for persons looks at individuals' autonomy. And in this particular case, Babalota is questioning whether participants in this context, immigrants who are looking for freedom, who are looking for better social conditions and life, will they even be free to articulate and freely speak to the researchers? So he's saying, can they provide autonomous consent as they speak to the researchers? And he's highlighting challenges of applying these principles to a population whose autonomy is compromised. The next principle is that of beneficence. The beneficence principle looks at researchers protecting participants from harm and promoting their well-being. So Babalota suggests that while testing the document, it may not improve its design, but it could also show that it legitimizes unjust policies. And he's raising concerns that usability studies could become a tool for oppression and providing an illusion of control to disenfranchised users within this unjust system. And then lastly, he is also using the principle of justice, whereby this justice principle asks the researchers, who is going to benefit from this research? And is it emphasizing fairness? So he argues that this first step flyer document is inherently unjust, and it is a part of a system that separates families, and it is making it challenging to conduct ethical usability testing. So he's emphasizing the importance of considering the broader context, including the impact of oppressive policies when assessing justice in usability research. So he is calling upon technical communicators or TCP practitioners to look at clearer and transparent code of professional conduct within the field that will guide them in their research in making ethical decisions. So this is what we have for this week. We call upon you to answer some questions in our discussion board, and we will interact with you there. Thank you very much for listening to our presentations, and have a wonderful week.
Bye, everyone.